I want you to picture a scenario with me. Just visualize a room. It could be a library, maybe a quiet corner of a coffee shop, or just a living room after a party has wound down.
Okay, I'm with you. Low lights, maybe?
Yeah, low lights, it's calm. And in this room, there are two people sitting separately.
Right.
And they look exactly the same. They're both quiet. They are both alone. They aren't on their phones. They're not talking. They are just sitting.
Just existing in that silence.
To an outside observer, if you were looking through a window, these two people are identical. They're just the quiet ones.
Right. We see that behavior solitude and our brains just, well, they naturally categorize them together. We just slap a label on it. Oh, they're taking a break.
Exactly. But here's the twist, and this is what really hooked me in the research we're looking at today. Despite looking absolutely identical on the outside, their internal realities are completely different.
Worlds apart.
One of them is experiencing introversion. The other is experiencing social withdrawal. And apparently we confuse these two things all the time. I know I do.
Oh, it's a very common confusion.
I usually just assume if someone is quiet, they're just being introverted.
It's actually a pretty dangerous confusion if you dig into the psychology, because while the action sitting there not talking looks the same, the driver behind it is fundamentally different.
The engine behind the silence.
Yeah. One is a personality style, a baseline. The other is a coping response to something going wrong.
That distinction, personality style versus coping response, that is what we need to unpack, because the sources we've pulled suggest that if you treat them the same way, you might actually be doing harm. You might be ignoring someone who is, screaming for help on the inside, or you might be pestering someone who just wants to be left alone.
It's about empathy, really. It's about understanding that silence isn't a monolith. It speaks different languages.
So let's start with this idea of the illusion of silence. The source material makes a pretty bold claim right at the top. Silence is deceptive.
It is. And the deception lies at the surface level. We're visual creatures, right? We judge what we see. And on the outside, both behaviors present as disengaging. If you're just watching the video feed of someone's life, you really can't tell the difference between a monk meditating and someone freezing out because of a panic attack.
That's a stark image. But the source focuses heavily on the feeling of the experience. It says the internal divide is massive.
This is the first clue. For the introvert, that silence, that state of being alone, the source describes it as feeling peaceful.
Peaceful. That's a very specific, positive word.
It is. It implies contentment, regulation. But now, switch gears. Look at the person experiencing social withdrawal. In that same silence, looking just as quiet, the research suggests they feel tense, worried, or disconnected.
So one is a warm bath, and the other is what cage?
That's a really good way to put it. One feels expansive, the other feels restrictive. But to an outsider, a manager, a friend, it just looks like Kevin is being quiet today.
And we usually judge that so quickly, don't we? We think, oh, Kevin's just shy, or he's in a mood. But what you're saying is we're missing the invisible data.
We are. And to find that data, we have to look at the mechanism. We have to look at what drives the behavior. Why is Kevin in the chair?
Let's talk about introversion first, because I feel like this term gets thrown around so much in pop culture that, well, it's lost its meaning.
Right, the whole antisocial myth.
People think it just means I hate parties or I'm awkward, but the source gives us a really specific definition, and it's related to energy.
Yes, and this is the classic scientifically accurate definition. It is not about social skills. You can be a really charming, charismatic introvert. It is strictly about energy economics.
Energy economics, I like that. So it's like a budgeting issue.
Essentially, think of it like a battery. When an introvert is in a high stimulation environment, loud music, lots of conversations, bright lights, their battery drains.
Physically and mentally.
And when they're in a quiet environment, that battery recharges.
The source lists activities like thinking, reading, working alone. But it also mentions being with just one or two close people. I found that interesting.
Yeah, that's a crucial nuance.
So you don't have to be totally isolated to be in introvert mode.
No, not at all. It's about the level of stimulation. Intimacy with a trusted partner isn't usually high stimulation in a draining sense. It can be restorative. The key phrase is, being alone doesn't drain them. It actually helps them recharge.
Okay, I want to apply this to a real-world scenario. The abstract definition is easy to nod at, but real life is messier. The source brings up the party scenario.
The classic Irish goodbye.
Exactly. So let's say you're at a party. It's loud, people everywhere. You see someone grabbing their coat to leave early. If that person is an introvert, walk me through their internal monologue. Why are they leaving?
Okay, so first let's talk about what they are not thinking. The source is very specific here.
Yeah.
They are not leaving because they feel hurt. They're not leaving because they feel rejected or because they hate their friends.
Which is what we usually assume. Oh, did I offend him? Why is he bailing?
Right. But for the introvert, the source says they're leaving because they have had enough stimulation. Their mind feels full.
Mind feels full. That resonates with me. It's not that the party is bad. It's just that the cup is full.
Precisely. Imagine you've just eaten a huge, delicious meal. You're stuffed. If someone offers you another steak, you don't refuse because you hate steak. You refuse because you physically cannot process any more food.
That's the introvert at the party.
Exactly. The goal of leaving is simply to feel balanced again.
So it's just a maintenance activity. They walk out that door, the cool air hits their face, and what? Relief.
Relief.
Yeah.
Equilibrium. They really think, that was fun. I am so glad to be going home. There is no drama internally, just a regulation of energy.
Okay, so that's the energy model of introversion. Makes sense. It's almost biological. Now let's flip the coin. Let's talk about social withdrawal. The source calls this the reaction model.
And this is where the tone really shifts. If introversion is a personality style, a baseline setting, social withdrawal, is defined as a reaction or a coping response.
A reaction implies a trigger. You don't just react to nothing.
Correct. And the force lists some very specific triggers. It says withdrawal happens after stress, embarrassment, rejection, anxiety, or emotional overload.
Those are heavy triggers. We aren't talking about the lights are too bright. We're talking about I feel stupid or I'm freaking out.
Exactly. And this changes the nature of the silence entirely.
So let's go back to that party. We're watching the door again. Another person is grabbing their coat. They look just as calm as the introvert did. But this person is socially withdrawing. What is happening in their head?
Well, they aren't leaving because their battery is naturally empty. They are leaving because they feel unsafe, overwhelmed, or emotionally tired.
Unsafe. That is a very different word than stimulated.
It is. The goal of leaving for the introvert was balance.
Yeah.
The goal of leaving for the withdrawn person, according to the source, is protection.
Protection. So they're running away.
In a sense, yes. Their internal monologue isn't, I'm full. It's more like, I can't handle this right now. I feel judged. I feel like everyone is looking at me.
I need to hide.
Yeah. They're retreating. It's a defensive maneuver.
That is just heartbreaking because if you're the host of that party, you just see two people leaving early. You might even think, wow, what a couple of party poopers. Mm-hmm. But one is going home to read a book in bliss.
And the other is going home to spiral.
Yeah.
And that's the tragedy of the hidden divide.
Yeah.
The behavior is identical exit stage left. But one is moving toward peace and the other is running away from pain.
But wait, let me play devil's advocate here. Can't an introvert also get socially anxious? Or can't someone withdrawing just look like they're chilling out? It feels like there's a gray area.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it gets messy. An introvert can certainly experience withdrawal. In fact, if an introvert is forced to be extroverted for too long, they might withdraw as a survival mechanic. But the core distinction the source tries to make is about the primary driver. Is the silence restoring you, or is it just a bunker?
That leads perfectly to what I think is the most useful tool in this entire source, because we can't read minds. If I see my colleague with headphones on at lunch, I don't know if he's recharging or hiding, but the source suggests we look at the aftermath of solitude.
Yes. This is the diagnostic test, the solitude test, if you will. It asks a simple question. How does the person feel after spending time alone?
Okay, let's play this out. Workplace example. The guy with the headphones sitting in his car for lunch. Let's say he's an introvert. He spends 30 minutes alone. He comes back to the office. What's the outcome?
The source says he usually feels refreshed. He comes back, calm and ready.
Ready to re-engage?
Yes. The battery is charged. The solitude did its job. It worked. He might even be more productive because he had that break.
Now, what about the person who is socially withdrawing? They go to their car. They sit there for 30 minutes. Maybe they're doom scrolling, maybe just staring at the steering wheel. They come back in. What's their outcome?
And this is the critical difference. The source notes that they often do not feel recharged.
The silence doesn't work?
It doesn't restore them. The text says they may still carry stress even in silence.
Wow. So they come back in and they're just as drained as when they left.
Sometimes even more so. Because if the withdrawal is a reaction to feeling unsafe, sitting alone doesn't necessarily fix that. In fact, it allows for rumination.
They're just stewing in the anxiety.
Yes, they are isolated with their stress, not released from it.
That is such a critical distinction. The introvert uses solitude to restore the self. The withdrawn person uses solitude to what? Hide the self.
To isolate the stress,
Yeah.
to create a barrier. But building a wall doesn't mean you're happy behind it. It just means nothing else can get in.
You're trapping the smoke inside the house.
That's a great way to put it.
I think this is where I've gotten it wrong in the past with friends. I've seen someone pulling away and thought, oh, they just need their space, so I back off. And if they were withdrawing, I might have just left them in that smoke-filled room.
That's a really common realization when people see this data. We're trained to respect boundaries, which is good. But sometimes respecting boundaries can look a lot like neglect if the person is actually drowning.
So how do we know? I mean, we can't just go around asking, hey, are you recharging or spiraling? That seems a little intrusive.
Yeah, please don't do that. But you can look for patterns. Introversion is usually consistent. Withdrawal is often a change in behavior. If your friend, who usually loves brunch, suddenly goes dark after a breakup, that's likely withdrawal.
That connects to the final major comparison the source makes. We've talked about energy versus reaction, balance versus protection, but there is one core differentiator that really sums it all up.
It comes down to one word: choice.
Let's unpack that.
Yeah.
How is choice involved here?
Well, the source explicitly states, introverts choose solitude. It's a preference. It is an active selection of an environment that suits them.
Like choosing to stay in on a Friday night because you genuinely love your couch and your show.
Exactly. It's a personality style. There is agency in it. I am choosing to stay in tonight because I love my quiet time. It feels empowering.
Versus withdrawal.
Withdrawn individuals, the source says, may feel pushed into it by circumstances.
Pushed, so it feels involuntary.
In a sense, yeah.
Eh.
It feels like the only option left. I can't handle the anxiety, so I have to leave. I feel too embarrassed to show my face, so I must stay home. That isn't a free choice. It's a forced hand.
It's survival mode versus leisure mode.
That's a perfect analogy. You don't choose to jump into a lifeboat. You do it because the ship is sinking.
And that's why the source frames the final comparison so beautifully. It says, sometimes silence is preference, that's introversion, and sometimes silence is protection, that's withdrawal.
Silence is preference versus silence is protection. That phrase really stuck with me.
It completely changes how you look at a quiet person.
It really does. Because if we look at the bigger picture, why does this matter? Well, if we assume everyone is just introverted when they're quiet, we risk ignoring people who are really struggling.
Right. And on the flip side, if we assume every quiet person is depressed or withdrawing, we become those annoying people who won't let the introvert just read their book in peace.
Oh, I have been that person. Are you okay? Why are you so quiet? You're not having fun. And the poor introvert is thinking, I was having a great time until you started analyzing me.
Yes. I think parents do this a lot with teenagers. The kid goes to their room, the parent panics. Is it drugs? Is it depression? And maybe the kid just needs to decompress after 8 hours of high school.
Exactly. High school is the ultimate high-stimulation environment. Coming home and staring at a wall for an hour might be the healthiest thing they can do.
So apply the test.
Apply the test. Do they come out for dinner refreshed? Or do they stay in there for 3 days and stop showering? That's the difference between preference and protection.
Yeah, that self-reflection piece is huge. It's easy to diagnose our friends, but we need to look in the mirror too.
Absolutely. There are times when even an extrovert might withdraw. And I think being able to ask yourself, wait, am I staying home because I want to recharge? Or am I staying home because I'm afraid of facing something out there? That's a game-changing question.
It really is. It takes the autopilot off our behavior. It forces you to look at the why.
And if the answer is, I'm afraid, then staying home usually reinforces the fear. That's the trap of withdrawal. It feels safe in the moment, but it makes the world feel scarier the longer you hide from it.
Whereas for the introvert, staying home makes the world feel manageable again.
Precisely.
So, to recap the journey we've been on, we started by realizing that silence is an illusion. Two people can look the same but feel completely different things.
Right. We moved into the introvert model, which is about energy, recharging, feeling peaceful, mindful, not heartbroken.
And then we looked at the withdrawal model, which is a reaction. It's about safety, feeling tense, leaving because of stress or anxiety.
And we learned the solitude test. Does the silence refresh you? Or do you just carry the stress into the silence with you?
And finally, the element of choice. Are you choosing preference or are you seeking protection?
It's a simple framework, but it creates such a profound shift in how we perceive quietness.
It definitely prevents us from judging quiet people too quickly, stops us from painting everyone with the same brush.
And that's the goal. isn't it? To see past the surface, to understand that the same action can have opposite meanings.
Absolutely. Well, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a little homework or just a thought to carry with you.
Yes. The next time you see someone being quiet or the next time you feel the urge to retreat into silence, don't just accept it at face value.
Ask the question the source leaves us with. Dig a little deeper. Ask yourself, is this a search for peace? Or is this a reaction to feeling unsafe?
Is this silence a preference or is it protection?
Once you know the answer to that, you'll know exactly what to do next, whether to enjoy the peace or maybe to reach out for support.
And that makes all the difference.
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.